Hello and welcome to Zerocarbonista Series 6, The Cow in the Room. I'm Ian Collins, and this is your number one go-to environment-based podcast. If it is green, it is in. And do you know what, Dale? I almost thought that you wouldn't. I was expecting when we started recording it, you won't be here because now, your preferred way of spending your time is to kind of lunch with the Financial Times and stuff like that. I thought, you ain't got time for this anymore. You and the boys of the FT.
In between that and going to Glastonbury, you're right
Go,
on a
yeah,
little
the
bit
FT
pushed.
to Glastonbury. There's a
Yeah.
juxtaposition of diary clashes.
Yeah, so that's what I did today. FT came to Stroud to do a profile piece that they run every now and then, and oh my God, it went on for 2 hours, by which time I was just like exhausted of talking, which is why I'm here like this now. Going, oh God, no bloody podcast. Not really. Nobody could tell, right? You couldn't tell that, could
No, no.
you? Yeah, it was funny. The fella Jim, who I known for a little while, he reminded me because he dug up. He said he got his team to dig out 200 clippings of me in the media as kind of background,
Yeah.
and in one of them was, or a couple of them were the FT, 10, 12 years ago or something. He dug out this interview where I said to the FT, "Business is a sad waste of life." I thought,
That's a
I
great
remember that
quote.
one. I
Yeah.
remember that one because I was telling people around me in Stroud that it was like I'd just gone into the church and peed on the pews because I'd just gone in an interview with the FT and said, business is a sad waste of life, boys.
What was the? I mean, did you get a lot of response on that at the time? Because obviously people are going to go, "Hang on, but you're in business." I know you don't see it quite like that,
Mm, mm.
and there is much more to your kind of entrepreneurial endeavors than business. It's not a way
Yeah.
you view your
Well,
life.
I think it was so long ago there wasn't this thing called social media.
Yeah, true.
There was another one he dug up. It was quite funny. There's me in 2008 talking about electric cars and saying one day we'll all be driving them, and everybody around me scoffing. And he's like,
Yeah.
"You saw the future."
Yeah, there you go, you see. This is like who was that fella? Nostradamus.
Nostradamus, yeah.
Old Nosty. Yeah, he knew his beans, didn't he, when it came to the future?
Yeah, he made a few good predictions.
Yeah, he laid it all out. As my old nan used to say, clever that one.
I haven't heard your old man say a positive thing yet, but that's a good one. I like
No,
that one.
there's a canon of positivity in there somewhere. We're just trying to find evidence of it, frankly.
We just need targets for it, don't we, right
Yeah,
now?
absolutely. It's worth mentioning as we record this, the next day you're off to Glastonbury, something you've done a gazillion times. For those who didn't hear last week's episode, what is happening at Glastonbury this year? What will you be doing? Where can people see you?
Oh, we're taking our big-arse-battery there to power the Arcadia field as part of the kind of existing power arrangements there. We're going to augment that with a battery jam-packed with wind and sun. And I'm speaking I've got two engagements tomorrow, one on Thursday, one on Friday, just around the place. A couple of them are about the Battle of the Beanfield because it's 40-year anniversary. Everyone wants to talk about that. The fun one tomorrow about 4 o'clock is is about festivals and asking the question, are they the birthplace of the Green Revolution? That's quite an interesting question.
Yeah.
And I'm on a panel with people that have come from a festival background and doing other things in the world today. And I think that's an interesting question to explore. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Are are festivals responsible for changing policy
Are they responsible for?
indirectly?
Is it, are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah.
No.
That fella
I,
behind you.
well, I think they are. They must be right to the extent that policies have changed towards green stuff, and a lot of green ideas sprang out of festivals. I first
Yeah.
went to one very very long time ago, and they were like a melting pot of ideas and idealism and lefty stuff, woke stuff we'd call it today for sure. Stuff where you care about other people and you care about the planet and that kind of stuff. Terribly woke.
Outrageous.
Just wrong, isn't it? It's just wrong.
What all that nice stuff, all that.
That's right. You bastard! You're so woke.
Oh, here comes Dale with his decency.
That's
What's the
right.
fella thinking? But it is. I mean, we've never been really. It's fair to say, isn't it? I mean, whether you're a detractor from I don't know, net zero green issues, there's no one that can't say this is firmly on the agenda. And you're absolutely right. People were talking about this years ago. I remember doing probably about 2000. I've mentioned this before about solar panels. You know, when you first saw a solar panel on a roof, and I knew that it was on that journey on the way to school. There was one solitary house with a freaking solar panel on it. It's like, wow.
Exactly.
I had a load of solar panels. No one really knew what it was, but they've been around for a while. But it was such and then it bubbled away, and then suddenly a big explosion.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, they used to be hyper expensive. They were around when I was on the road in the 80s, and well, they cost an awful lot of money and made very little energy. But the technology has transformed. We talked about it last week, didn't we? Chinese have invented a solar panel now with a near 30% efficiency, which is just
Yeah.
incredible. Back in the day, they were like 5 or something like that. Um, there's been a revolution in solar, and the price has just gone through the floor. It's really quite incredible, which is why we can build solar farms now with no subsidies at all.
Yeah. You know what they should do? They should give them away with a gallon of petrol.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I thought you were going to say a box of cornflakes, because actually I could imagine you could just pull one out of a box of cornflakes, and build your mosaic of solar panels to
Yeah, but you got
power
to
your
be
house.
careful with putting stuff. Yeah, I once, I remember as a kid that's a dangerous game, Dale, because I once opened a box of cornflakes and talk about health and safety faux pas from the Kellogg's people. I found a plastic dinosaur in there, so this stuff is not it's not necessarily safe. I'm just
And
putting it out there as a warning.
I think it was in there on purpose.
You think? No one ever told me that. You see, my nan just
Brilliant.
laughed. Kellogg's conspiracy. On that point, we mentioned about net zero being firmly on the on the agenda like never before. Ed Miliband has said this week, Energy Secretary, Net Zero Secretary, we should say, insists Britain is on the brink of a green industrial revolution amid a growing backlash. Now, obviously, there's detractors. You can say, well, that's good for democracy. I always like it when a journalist asks a question and people think they've asked a stupid question because they disagree with the journalist. But actually, what the journalist has done is usually allowed the person they're asking the question to give a good answer. And so when, whether you're Reform or whether you're somebody else who's not necessarily signed up to net zero, the fact you can say to Miliband, what do you think you're up to? What are you doing with all this net zero stuff? Gives him a unique opportunity to say, well, I can tell you. And there it is. And that's where we're at now.
Mhm. And green industrial revolution, I mean, that's a form of words I've been using for a while now. So for me, it's good to hear a politician, a government minister, actually using that language, because that's what it is. And I think it's the biggest industrial revolution of them all. We've had a couple, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is the big one, the really big one. So that's good to see. And it's good to see Ed saying he's gonna stick up for it and fight for it. But I think the next story you're going to mention kind of like makes you wonder. The
Yes, it does.
doesn't it?
If I,
Look at me. I'm like a pro.
I'm sitting there going, hang on, are we on to the
What's he
Donald
talking
Trump
about?
clip yet? Are we, or are we going somewhere else?
Well, it's the somewhere else. It's the North Sea, isn't it?
The North Sea. Yeah, well, this is a good story, of course, because, and if I could just find it, we could even talk about it.
I can fill in the gap if you want.
Yeah, go on, fill in the gap, Dale.
Announcement from Desnes is that they're making room for Jackdaw and Rosebank to come back into the planning system. These two were thrown out by the court, I don't know, a year ago or something
Yeah,
like that. These two new oil fields. And then the announcement is they're going to allow them back in. Now, I don't know what the basis for that is, because you'd think that they could go back in anyway if they wanted to. I'm
yeah,
hoping that the rules aren't going to be changed to make it easier for them, because they were thrown out because they hadn't taken into account downstream carbon emissions. And that's super important. So if they come back in, I say fair enough, but make sure downstream carbon emissions have to be taken account of, in
yeah.
which case I think they shouldn't get planning permission, but we'll see.
We will see. Let's look at this story, because you mentioned a second ago the importance of language of politicians. And this, what we're about to play here, kind of does feed into a wider issue of what is going on in the world. So let's have a listen to the American president and his view on Israel and Iran.
Israel unloaded a lot, and now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you, and I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. You know what, we basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Now, hear me out on this, Dale. I think we should actually give Trump a house point on this for at least, um, going off piste, as it were, at least detracting from, if you like, the conventional language of politicians. He's saying, I'm fed up with Israel. I'm fed up with Iran. These pair of can't get it together. So,
Mm,
that's where
mm.
I'm at.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean that's right. There are. I've said it before. There are some elements of what he says and what he does that I like, that I appreciate. First one I can think of as an example is that for a long time, many of us have known that America is not actually the friend of Europe. But while America, uh, posed to be such a thing, no other president before Trump would say simply, "We're not. You should
Yeah,
pay for your own defense. Well, you're freeloading that kind of stuff." And that's a great realization for Europe because I think that'll galvanize us into having our own kind of standing in the world, particularly, I hope, in terms of Gaza and Palestine, where we've been too afraid of the US up until now for that. He talked truth about the Ukraine Russian conflict. And his administration has said, you've got to accept what Russia say. The fear of a NATO spread on the borders, you've got to accept that as a cause of the war. No Western politician will say that or accept that. Here he is effing and blinding. I like that. And he was particularly harsh with the Israelis. He said that, this one rocket from Iran that was probably fired by mistake didn't even land. And then they respond with like, more bombs than he's ever seen in his life or something. And
yeah. Yeah, he
I'm
said to
hoping
Israel, "Don't drop those bombs." I mean,
he
it was,
did turn the planes back, he said. I mean,
yeah,
incredible stuff. What I'm hoping now is he gets interested in Gaza, not in the real estate way, but in a different way. And he says, do you know what? What's happening there is wrong. Because he seems to care about people being killed, even though he kills people himself. Obviously, he attacked Iran. We shouldn't forget that. He joined the Israeli war just a couple of days ago. Um, I'm hoping he gets interested in Gaza, and he alone can force Israel to act in a just way there.
yeah. I mean, Israel really have to do pretty much what he says uh, because they're screwed without the Americans,
That's
financially
what it is.
speaking.
That's what it is. I mean, linked to that as well, we had this story this week, didn't we? A group called Palestinian Action
Yeah,
broke into an air base, put some paint on some warplanes, and
terrorists, by the way. Yeah, we have to
our
say
government
that
are
now.
about, well, they're about to make them terrorists. They're about to prescribe them as a
Yeah,
terrorist organization. I found that really shocking because at the same time, we've got an Israeli ambassador wandering freely around London. He's a representative of a terrorist regime, people that are doing actual murder and real harm to tens of thousands of people in Gaza and in Palestine. And we're worried about a bit of paint. Spread a bit of
yeah,
paint, you're a terrorist. Murder 50,000 people, actually you're an ally and we'll keep supplying you with weapons, but we'll ask you, please, we hope that you'll have a ceasefire soon. I mean, what's
yeah,
happening?
indeed. Um, let's just very briefly look at this story. I forgot to mention this in our. Obviously, you and me have a production meeting before before the
I thought this was it.
This was it. Well, it's very much like this, but it lasts about 3 minutes, and then we just go, "Should we just crack on with it?" And then we do. Um, uh, but there's an Ecotricity story here, actually, about coming top of the pile when it comes to customer service.
Yeah, again, apparently.
I think that's
Somebody put
because you always answer all phones personally, Dale. I think that's the
that's
reason
right.
why.
That's right. I'm so busy.
Good morning, I'm
I
Dale.
don't
Can I help you?
I don't sleep. We need an AI version of me. That'd be fantabulous, and we could
Yeah,
stick me
it's
on the
doable.
phones and all
Doable.
that good. Yeah, we just won the Citizens Advice energy customer service league table or something like that, second time in a row, I think it is, just for customer service. But it's important to us. Good service is important, because
100%.
we have this ethos. We treat people like people, no matter if they're customers, suppliers, our colleagues. It doesn't matter who they are. We have the same ethos. We peer-to-peer relationships. We're honest. We're open, and we just try to get the job done.
Yeah. A company called So Energy were at the bottom of that list, by the way. I'm not
Oh
familiar with
wow,
these guys.
I'm not. Never heard of them.
Well, they've got a shit name for a start, haven't they? I mean, with respect, I'm sure there's some very nice people there, but hello, So Energy. I mean, come on. The Saatchi and Saatchi boys would never have passed that one, would they? In a million
Mm.
years. So
Yeah,
Energy.
so energy. That's so energy. Maybe they were trying to play on that thing where people go, "Oh, that's so the '90s,"
Ah,
or "That's
yeah,
so
yeah. All
this."
right, I retract everything I said. It's genius.
It's genius.
It is.
Now they
It,
just need better customer service.
yeah, indeed. Yeah, they got to. Believe me, some of the ones above them are questionable. So how they got to the bottom tells you a lot. There is a Mike Graham. Did you go on Mike Graham's show this week?
No, he asked me, I couldn't make it.
All right. Something about fish.
Is
Water
it?
and fish are endangered species.
we we've been having some interaction on the social internet.
Have you?
Yeah, he posted something and I posted something, and I don't know how it began. Who knows? Let's not do a Donald Trump. But it's not even like we have a ceasefire. We're friends, and I think he said he was down by the coast. He was enjoying the. I think he said the. I don't know why the water. I have no idea. He said he was enjoying the water and the fish, and I said to him, "Enjoy, Mike, because they're both endangered species." Bit of a
Ah,
joke, because
yeah.
climate crisis is causing water problems everywhere in the world. I mean, we're about to enter a drought here in Britain. The Western developed world. We can't sort our shit out. Literally, we pump it in the rivers instead, and and of course. Fish are definitely an endangered species. So it's
Yeah.
just me having a laugh.
Fair enough. And his shoulders are broad. He can
Yeah,
take it
yeah, I think you're right. I think he loves it actually.
without doubt. What is this story? The Iceman cometh to refreeze the Arctic.
So there have been a lot of ideas kicking around to do this over the last couple of decades. I reckon we had some of our own, which was like we've got this wave device that we never managed to break out into commerciality. And basically it bobs up and down on top of waves and pumps water. And
Hmm.
we thought if we stuck that around the Arctic, it would pump water into the air and it would turn into snow or ice and, fall
Yeah.
down, shit like that. These guys have got 10 million of funding to drill holes in the ice and extract water and kind of spread it like the way they make ice roads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to make the ice thicker. And apparently, it makes the ice thicker above and below in their early tests. And the idea is to maintain the ice in the Arctic, partly because of this albedo effect. I think we've talked about it before. The white ice compared to the dark ocean, there's a big difference in the amount of radiation from the sun's rays that is absorbed in the planet. So it's going to help keep us cool if we can keep a ice cap on.
Should we do some questions, Dale?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is from Bucky Nick on YouTube. He says, "Can you grow out of season fruit and veg using grow lights and wind powered batteries?"
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, stuff gets grown indoors all year round, and indoor farming is a thing. Vertical farming, it's
Yeah.
got lots of different names, but absolutely growing all year round. Yes.
Stephen J. Little on Instagram. "Surely the Green Party is where your money should be going, Dale, if you want energy bills, etc., to reflect reality."
Well, well. I mean, the word reality is key here. I don't, honestly, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered. I mean, listen, I like the Green Party. Actually, some of my ideas seem to be picked up by the Green Party. That chap Zach Polanski, who's like he's running for leader on
Yeah.
and his platform is green populism. He's saying the Green Party needs to change. It needs to communicate like Farage, but not lie, but talk like him. That's a line straight out of my book. I'm hoping to have a chat with him in a
Yeah.
week or two. I really like it, and I think it could be exciting for the Green Party. But I gave money to Labour at last election because we had to beat the Tories. We needed a Labour government, and they've got a lot of green policies. They unbanned onshore wind 100% by 2030. There's all kinds of good stuff there. And I know some people in the Green Party go, man, they stole our policies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I say that's a great thing. If you can get Labour to pick up your policies and run with them, then your job is done.
Here's a question from Jordan Sandland, who says, "If all the millionaires leave, a lot already have, it will increase the tax burden on everyone else. What do we do then, Dale?"
Well,
So is this
well,
is it an urban myth about millionaires leaving? I mean, there is,
there's all,
I
yes,
think, 6 left since Christmas, but
yeah.
that's only because they've got a place in Bermuda.
I think it was like 0.03% or something like that of the 20,000 like very rich people or something. I don't really know. But the point is, we won't lose a lot of tax if they leave because they don't pay a lot of tax, and that's
Yeah.
the problem. They should pay more tax. But I don't think it's moral to be concerned that rich people will leave if we ask them to pay their fair share. I say they shouldn't be here freeloading on everybody else. There are millions of families in our country in poverty, can't feed their children, that kind of stuff. We can't allow that and allow rich
Mm.
people not to pay, a fair amount of tax. And I've said this before, to deal with this fear of rich people leaving, we should adopt a system like the US has. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you're a US citizen, you pay tax in the US. That's the price you pay to be a US citizen. We should do the same thing. And then we won't even care about that 0.3% that leave to avoid tax or whatever it is,
Yeah,
because they won't avoid tax anyway.
fair point. David Brown on LinkedIn says, in response to petition to promote plant-based foods over meat and dairy, have you accounted for the increased methane when we all start eating beans? I mean, is
Yes,
there a serious question in there? I'm not
I
mocking
don't
the
think so.
question.
Well, I'm not mocking the question, but I think it's funny because it's about farting, right? So I can't help but laugh. I'm English. And the thing is, cows, cows produce incredible amounts of methane, and it's not all out of the back end. I think most of it comes out the front end, is belching from
Is it?
digesting grass in their four stomachs, you know? So not eating meat will create a massive reduction in methane, and it will not be compensated for in any way, shape, or form by an increase in farts because we eat beans instead.
Yeah, what is it? Is it the cows just dumping? Because I've never heard a cat, to coin it for, I've never heard a cow open its handbag. I've never heard the noise.
I don't know
Does
what
that
that
happen?
means.
When I've walked past a field, never heard of like a little silent
But it's
trumpy
not,
pop
and
out
it's
the
not just
back
the,
end of a beast.
okay. Well, it's not just the farting; it's the poo as well, of course. You know,
Yeah.
which the thing is, here's the thing, right? We make gas from grass in our grass mill.
Yeah.
We take the stuff that cows eat and we stick it into an anaerobic digester, which is like a cow's stomach.
Hmm.
It breaks down in the absence of oxygen,
Yeah.
and guess what? It produces methane, massive amounts of methane from this grass. Now, if a cow eats the grass, all of that methane goes into the atmosphere. We capture it to put it into the gas main. But cows being grown for food are just releasing mad amounts of methane. Why are you smoking at me?
It's just the weirdness of our conversation.
It is a weird. Let's move on.
Isn't Bill Gates trying to design the fartless Frisian or something that doesn't do any of this stuff?
There's a few people messing around with cow food. They think if we feed them seaweed, for example, we
Yeah.
can get lower methane emissions. But honestly,
Yeah.
that's just a pointless task. The real problem is the cow itself, and we don't need cows in the food chain. We just don't.
No. Can't really feed them burgers, can you? I mean, that'd be a bit shit.
Someone said to me today,
It's just
I think
insensitive.
it was the man from the FT. He said to me, "We were talking about this protein we're extracting from grass." He said, "Would you feed it to cows?" I'm like, "That'd be stupid." Um,
Yeah.
but I'd compared it to soya in terms of price, and he said, "But we feed soya to cows." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. That's also stupid, actually." But why would we extract protein from grass and feed it to cows? I have no idea.
And in that, yes, indeed. And yeah, that would be crazy. The cows can just eat the grass.
He's right. We do it with soybeans. Like something like 90% of the world's soya gets fed to animals, not to vegans.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Vegans do better. There's the message. This one came in from Simon. Simon Jeffries on email, who says, it's a slightly longer one. I'm a huge fan of the show. Listened for years. You've been very vocal about bringing down the price of electricity by not setting the price for consumers based on the highest final input, which is always gas. What I've never understood is what happens to the extra money consumers pay to renewable energy suppliers over the price they offer. So if they ask for 10p per kilowatt hour, but end up getting 15 because of the gas price, is that just profit? If so, what do they do with the profit? It's a good question.
So, well, it depends on whether the renewables project is on a CFD or not. And a CFD is a contract for difference. And under that system, renewable generators are guaranteed a price. Let's call it 5p or something like that.
Yeah.
Anything they get above that price, they give back, and it recirculates into customers' bills about 3 months later, comes off them. Anything under 5p, they're given by the central system from excesses in other years. So they don't benefit basically. But any renewables projects that's not in a CFD, any other kind of project that's not in some kind of government contract will benefit. Um, and this is why we've needed windfall profits as well, because the price of oil and gas just
Yeah.
is a roller coaster. We saw it this week, didn't we? With all the hoo-ha in the Middle East. Oil shoots up 10%. Next thing you know, it's dragging up our energy bills. It drags up inflation with it.
Yeah.
And here we go again. We have to break the link, otherwise we can't have the real benefits of green energy.
Break the link. Remember it. Should we do some X-rated corner, Dale?
Yeah, I could do with that.
Yeah, I think you need this. You've had a tough, excuse me, you've had a tough old day talking to financial people. So here's one from AJ Food and Fire, who says, Dale, you are a bootlicker. I thought I couldn't stomach Starmer. Then you popped up. How on earth can you support Starmer? Ridiculous at this stage, he says.
This stage, he's not
They've
a
been there
year.
half an hour.
He's not a year in yet. Do you know what I mean? People who are writing him off, like, 3 months in, they're like, oh, this is all kinds of wrong. Labour are terrible. It's like, hang on a
Yeah.
minute, they haven't had time to really do anything yet. I'm not sure whose boots I'm meant to be licking, but I don't recognise myself in that sentence.
This one from Matthew, who says, all Dale Vince wants is to force his views on others. It's not about other people. It's entirely about what Dale Vince wants.
I've been sussed.
Yeah, there's no answer to that.
What can I say? I do care about getting my views across to other people. I don't force them on anybody. I mean, I'm offering
Well, you
logic
are.
and
I mean,
numbers and
you
facts.
are in a world where kind of the idea is to get your views listened to by other people. I mean, there's no apology for that, right? I mean, a bit
Mm,
weird. It's
it's a
like
bit
I
weird.
said this before. I was a big fan of the Jehovah's Witnesses on this basis because they would knock on your door and spread the word of what they believed. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know what they believed, frankly, but they believed it. And when the woman used to knock on my house back in the day, I ended up chatting to her for about 20 minutes. She was clearly very lonely, but apparently knew something about life more than I did. It's what you're meant to do, isn't it? Spread the word of what you believe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems to be a big part of life to me, sharing what you think is true, and that kind of stuff. What's social media for, if not for sharing views and opinions?
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you knocked on somebody's door and said, "Hi, well, frankly, I've got no opinion on God, so I don't even know why I'm here." That'd just be a bit weird.
That would be a very lost, lonely person,
That'd be
wouldn't
a
it?
waste of everybody's time, including God. This is reference. Somebody sent this in, no name given. Uh, the Palestine Action being
Mm.
declared a terrorist group. Some people said that was over the top. I said that was over the top on air as well, Dale. Somebody says, over the top, the has damaged military equipment.
It was, as I understand it, a bit of paint.
On an
So
aeroplane.
on an airplane, that's right. But it's nothing compared to the death and destruction that's happening in Palestine. I mean, even today, another 25 people were killed at an aid distribution center. This new aid group that's part Israeli, part US funded,
Yeah.
where people group together for food and they shoot tank shells at them and machine guns. It happens every day of the week. This is a real problem. This is real terrorism to me.
And a final one, Dale, from DWP Ram says, bore off, you buffoon. We had a lovely sirloin steak last night from our local butcher. You eat that ultra processed vegan shite, if you like.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, it means you eat it if you like. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
don't like actually. I avoid it because it's ultra processed shite. That's not my thing. But yeah, a
What's an
sirloin
ideal?
steak.
So, if you were going out, if you were cooking a meal, or somebody was cooking one for you, said, right, what's the ideal meal to put in front of you? What would that be?
Oh, the simple answer is chips. I'm a big chip fan, but that don't do it justice, right? I like to make salads, but like super salads with like sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds, and the four big ingredients I like to put into everything: ginger, garlic, chili, and turmeric. I put them in soup. I put them in salads.
Yeah,
They're like superfoods themselves. Um, so I like big salads. I like burgers from Forest Green Rovers, not ultra processed.
yeah.
The big dunk actually is my favorite burger. I like to eat them. You know, I like curries.
What about a Linda McCartney pie?
They're all right, but they're a bit shit, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're
Just li-
probably in the process department that we were
I think
talking
they
about.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
If they're not, big apologies to the Linda McCartney empire. Dale, it's the last thing we need. A lawsuit from a Beatle. Goodness me. Dale, we've hit the clock. We're out of time.
Damn. I mean, thanks
But
Fox for that.
you'll be reporting from Glastonbury. Well, no, you'll be reporting on Glastonbury next week.
Yes, something like that.
Can't wait. And of course, this podcast will, the phrase that all us kids use these days is it will land on Friday morning at 8 a.m. No
There
ifs,
isn't
no buts, Dale. Is that right?
no T's and C's.
None.
Well, except the usual ones. But we're doing it. I mean, this is Wednesday, right? So we've got a good chance of landing it for Friday. Good chance.
Yeah. This is actually Tuesday.
Yeah, you're right. There we go. We've got a better chance. We've got an even better chance.
Even better chance. We've just literally increased the chances in like 6 seconds. That's an amazing service. We'd be at the top of that league thing, wouldn't we, for customer service?
Yeah, we would.
Don't forget, of course, Dale will speak in a week.
Yeah, can't wait.
You can follow Dale on social media, twitter.com/Dale Vince or x.com/Dale Vince, facebook.com/Dale Vince, and of course on TikTok too. Don't forget to tell every single person you've ever met in your entire life about this podcast, and it's out every single week, Friday, 8 a.m.